sort of summarize what the situation was between what happened with the British and the Ottoman, and promises made and promises broken. What was happening in that time?
Well, to understand that time, we have to actually understand. Well, we had the first wave of Russian Jews settling into there between like 1881 and 1903. But during this time, we also had Zionism as a concept emerge in response to kind of the persecution of Jewish people throughout Europe. And 1897, that's when Zionism started forming, and Theodor Herzl was
That's when the
kind of
term is coined.
yeah, it's coined, and that's where it was starting to be understood, and these ideas are being spread around. Still very much in its infancy. This was not something that like all Orthodox Jews even like recognize. Not everybody was on the same page of this. So um, when you look at Zionism, you could, and this is relevant to kind of the promises that were made and the way that this unfolded. If you look at the different types of Zionism, some of this overlaps, but you could split three main types into like political Zionism, a cultural or a spiritual Zionism, and a practical Zionism. And you differentiate, like, political is all about trying to achieve the goals of a Jewish state, a Jewish home, through political means, through leveraging political power and trying to get the legitimacy through being recognized on the international stage. The cultural or spiritual Zionism was the path to establishing a Jewish state was through revitalizing the culture and creating like a spiritual hub for Jewish people, and also reinvigorating and like reestablishing Hebrew as a language and kind of telling the story and lighting that fire within individuals. And then there's the practical Zionism of like saying that, well, goals can only be achieved by building infrastructure and setting up good relationships with people. And basically, you're creating the value and you'd be welcomed with open arms, that you wouldn't have to buy political favors. You'd be creating the kind of like warm relations that you would naturally be accepted. So with
It's interesting
that,
what you
that's
said
kind of the
earlier about
context.
how it's interesting how you mentioned how when Zionism is first conceptualized, most Jews throughout the world would not have been privy to this and would not have had necessarily access to this idea that, well, now we need to form a homeland. We need to, or more accurately, we need to rediscover our ancestral homeland, settle there, and move. You have disparate groups of people that generally share a religion, generally share certain lifestyle choices, things like that, that culturally make them Jewish. And then you also have, in the same kind of way, you have in the area that would become Israel and Palestine, the same thing. You have disparate groups of Arabs who wouldn't necessarily identify all as the same members of the same nation state, generally sharing a lifestyle, generally sharing cultural traits. Then, the British and the Ottoman, they go at it.
Yeah, that was World War I, Ottoman Empire being allied